Welcome to Trail Manners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for Trail Manners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails. Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
We're back. Welcome to the Trail Manners podcast, episode number 95. Today, we are talking with Sarah McCloskey here in Salt Lake City, Utah. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Trail Manners podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Trail Manners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. All right, welcome back to the Trail Manners podcast. This is episode number 95. And this is B, the B, or take two.
Yeah.
We just had one solid hour of content with our guest.
I know.
And, something crashed. It wasn't me.
Nope.
It wasn't Joel.
Nope.
It wasn't our guest.
Nope.
It was something else. The computer.
There's a bug in the system.
There's a bug. But we're back. So, and joining us on episode 95, we've been out of it for a while. We've taken a hit for it.
Right.
We are here.
Our guest even called us out on it.
That's right. We're here with Sarah McCloskey at Canyon Rim Park in Salt Lake City, base of Grandeur Peak, outside. Thanks for taking the extra time like that, because you already took the time with us.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
And let me tell you this. That was a solid show
that
you guys aren't going to listen to.
I know.
I'm serious, we had an hour of just awesome stuff.
Yeah, especially at the end, it was really getting good.
Especially since she doesn't like people.
I know.
And I'll bring that back up again. But we're here with Sarah McCloskey. We've been talking, and we'll get back into what we're talking about.
Just do a quick recap.
We'll do a quick recap. So, I mean, we talked about the Wasatch 100. It's going to happen when you hear this show. It's like 3 days away. Mm-hmm. Sarah is a veteran of it. This is her 8th run at the Wasatch 100. And she's been coming in with a little bit of foot issue. Is that right?
Little niggle.
Little niggle.
Yeah.
I would say that's all it is, hopefully.
Right.
But yeah, for 1 week of stress and some needles, hopefully it'll be all right.
When she says needles, she does mean the dry needling,
right?
Which we talk about quite a bit on the show. So there's 2 people here that are dry needlers.
Yep.
And one
I hope to get some dry needling this weekend.
I'm a non-needler.
Yeah. We're going to flip you.
Flip me? You're going to bring me to the needle side?
That's right.
So you're coming into this race. We've talked about it a little bit. You've had a pretty good year training coming into Wasatch this year. Again, this is your 8th attempt or 8th go at it.
My 9th start, actually.
9th start?
Ninth
Okay.
start.
Okay, well, that's something we didn't hit on the last one. So
no, we didn't.
New info.
Mm-hmm.
What do you look most forward to for the Wasatch 100? Because it's the race you've done the most. Am I right? You've done this more than any other race.
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely. I love it.
Everything about it.
I love the views. I don't particularly care for the last 15 miles.
Okay.
Right.
That's probably the only part I don't really like. But I love the people. I have a lot of friends that still do it. It's super fun, and I look forward to it and consider it one of the best weekends of the year.
And it's in the backyard, right?
It's local, and I love that.
And because Sarah's from here, right? I mean, you came and from Washington State,
right?
Because her dad has run Western and Leadville, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you've crewed for him.
Mm-hmm. I didn't do much. I was 10 probably.
Oh, that's all right.
Not even, maybe 8.
Yeah. So you knew just enough that, hey, this is a big deal. My dad's doing something big and hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's still cool. I love those. Are my favorite types of stories.
I know.
Is the older, long time
in our
ago.
first interview when we were talking about that, we were really surprised.
Yeah, because we didn't know that.
I know.
Because we were asking her how she got into it. She was a runner in high school.
Yep.
Kind of
dabbled
got through
in college.
And then you started running and came across a group of people that kind of got you into the trail scene, right?
Yep.
Kind of mentored you a little bit and thought, man, these people are old and they can do it, and I'm young.
Let's say older. We'll just say older.
No, your exact words, they were old.
No.
In the first interview, they're old. I got to wait until I get old before I could try this.
We're holding you to it. And then you started going in to the Wasatch. I think, one of the other things that's so great is how many times you've done what we call the double, right? The Wasatch Bear, which is, one of them's hard enough.
Right.
Let's be honest, but you've done it back to back 4 times, right?
Three
times. Okay.
I think the 3 weeks apart is really not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in your world.
Well, I mean, my early Wasatches, I literally was crippled after,
Yeah.
so that would have been a big deal.
Yeah.
But once you've done several hundreds, it's 3 weeks. You have one good week in the middle there that you can actually run. I think the years I did it, I probably ran 50 miles those weeks. In the middle week.
In the middle week.
You rest,
Yeah.
run 50,
And then
taper.
Rest. Yeah.
You throw that
that's
big
our
mileage
plan.
week right in the middle.
Like 0, 0, 0,
2
50.
weeks.
0, 0, 0, 50.
Race.
Yeah, 2 weeks, that's tough. Like,
Yeah, it
you
is.
kind of do not much. A couple good runs, but.
Right.
And we also, one of the things, because, we're going to kind of recap what we've already talked about because we've been
Right.
sitting here for a while. But one of the things I thought was pretty interesting, too, a couple things, actually, is mantras. You talked about having good mantras when you go into a race that kind of keep you where you need to be,
Right.
Mhm.
right? Whether it's early on in a race, whether it's later in a race, whether it has to do with food, nutrition, weather, pace. I mean,
Yep.
that's kind of something that you feel has helped you all along the way.
Yep, you got to have a mantra and just keep repeating it incessantly to yourself.
Right.
All the good things, all the things you've thought about for weeks leading up,
Mm-hmm.
just compact them into a little few sentences and
Right. What
repeat
what
it.
has been some of the successful ones for you?
Don't breathe too hard.
Don't breathe too hard.
Yeah, like in the early times of the race, you don't want to breathe hard.
I
So
sound
it
like
means don't run fast.
Yep.
I sound
keep
like
it
a
easy.
Clydesdale.
Did you say keep it in Clydesdale?
I sound like a Clydesdale
Oh.
already. I'm like, you're like, this dude's at an aid station. What's wrong with him?
Keep eating, keep drinking. Beer at the finish. The faster you go, the sooner you'll be done.
Right.
All those things that you just need to think about every minute.
Those are good.
You don't want to go 2 hours without eating. That's stupid.
Right. No, it is. That can ruin your race pretty fast.
Yeah,
for sure. One of the things we touched on earlier was your preference of having a pacer or no pacer. And the reason we asked that is because you are a veteran, you've been around. And I think for those people that are either getting into the sport or they're thinking about doing their first 100, it's always good to hear different perspectives. So what is your take on pacer, no pacer, and also on crew?
I think a crew is pretty important, although there's not a lot of spots to get crew.
We're
At
just
Wasatch
talking
anymore?
about Wasatch, right?
Yeah, they've taken several out, which I think is fine. The
Mhm.
best thing they ever did was get rid of Big Water.
Yes.
Crew
That was
point.
such a
That was
junk show.
horrible.
Yeah,
That
Oh,
was
so-
dangerous.
it was.
So I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but it's nice to see the people you like a couple times when you're
Oh,
out there.
There you go.
That's super helpful.
It is.
Yeah.
Pacers, however, I typically don't use a pacer. I
Right.
have used pacers, and they've been helpful sometimes. But I feel like it's distracting. It gives you someone to complain to, somebody
Right.
to worry about. They can't carry my stuff.
Right.
I like to rock out.
Yeah. Ooh, so
Talking's a waste of
So
energy.
what do you listen to music-wise? We never touched on that in the first interview. What's your go-to?
I've been in the process of going to the library and ripping CDs
Yeah,
for about 6 weeks now.
from like
Trying
the
to
90s?
get a new
stuff you get
playlist.
left over from the 1990s?
No, I'm looking for something new just
Yeah?
because, it's tired and old. But there
Right.
are some that I keep on there no matter what.
Yeah.
And
Which are
Bruce Springsteen
oh
won't leave the podcast
nice.
or won't leave
the boss.
playlist.
Yeah. I
A
like
lo-
it.
I mean, it's heavily weighted to the boss.
Yeah. Is it?
Heavily
really
weighted.
heavily.
Do you wear a red bandana? Do you keep one tucked in the back of your
It's not
shirt?
red.
You should.
It's blue,
You
but
need, you need to do
Close
red now. You
Yeah.
need to do red now. That's your tribute.
right. So yeah, the boss, and the rest of the time I just basically listen to KRCL a lot, and I hear something I like, and I go get the CD, and
Right.
I sift through there and get some good songs off that. And
Well, during the race, you can probably listen to KRCL.
I was thinking that, but when I've been in the mountains and
Back-
tried to listen to the radio,
Just doesn't work on the
it
iPod.
doesn't work too good.
Yeah.
Do you
You
carry
know-
an antenna?
Very Andrew
around.
at
Be a
work.
good idea. That's why
Yeah.
you need a pacer.
Yeah, have them carry your boombox.
They can't
Yeah, on
carry
the
your
shoulder.
stuff. The boombox is kind of cool.
Yeah.
When Kenzie and Matt Van Horn raced by me at the Bear with the boombox, I was pretty jealous.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that.
I didn't either.
That's
At
awesome.
least I think that's who it was. I know it was Kenzie, but yeah.
And somebody.
They went by so fast. I didn't really know what happened.
Just like, huh, that was neat. I'm listening to the boss.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm born in the
I'm in my
USA,
chill.
baby.
All right, so you're pretty much going to be no pacer then.
I am going to have a pacer this year.
Are you?
From Brighton to the end. I think the biggest thing a pacer can do for you is push you to run when you think in your head you can't run.
So is that why this year specifically you're doing that? Is that the reason, or is just big opportunity presented itself?
The opportunity presented
The right
itself.
person came along.
Yeah.
You don't hate them.
I don't usually ask really people
Right.
because like we talked about, I have never paced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she never paced anybody. No one asks her
Yeah.
because they're scared of her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll have a pacer this year.
You know, I think maybe people don't ask because you're fast.
Yeah. That's probably a good point.
Yeah.
They're probably
It's
thinking
fine
that
that they don't ask
she's
because I don't.
RA racing.
Yeah, she doesn't
really
want
want
it paced.
to.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we talked about how it can just be a distraction with the stress of pacers getting to and from an aid
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
Or drop points. You
Right.
know,
Oh,
shuttled.
You just don't want to have to
Totally.
worry about them.
Yeah.
And I
then-
I've in my past, I've seen people stressing about how they're going to get their pacer to such and such a point. And
Yeah.
how they getting back to their car.
Yeah,
Right.
and it becomes like this whole problem. And
It is
I
a
don't
problem.
want that stress.
That's right.
It's too
There's
much in
enough
my
going
head.
on.
I got
Yeah.
enough stuff in my head. I can just take care of myself.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's
like it.
that's the way it should be. though.
Ultimately, that's
Mm-hmm.
all you can count on.
Well,
is yourself.
and I think if you like when you read and listen to like what Carl Meltzer when he talks about pacers, he doesn't like the idea of having pacers because it's hey that you're supposed to do it by yourself. That's
Right.
what appeals to it,
Uh-huh.
right? And so I think there's different thoughts to it. I would like to do a race with no pacer, just for the simple fact to try it, to do it, and to see if I can get into what you're talking about. not
Those
complaining
races,
and-
there's races in SoCal that actually give you better lottery odds if you run the solo division.
Huh.
Like Angeles Crest and I think San Diego, I was looking at both of them earlier when you were asking me about last year actually, or next year, sorry. And it's like 60-40 or something split. Like
Mhm.
they'll take more people for this.
if you're
like-
not using pacers.
Oh, so your
Yeah.
odds are better to get into the lottery
odds
if
are
you're going
better
to
to
go
get
no
in.
pace.
And you can't have any help.
I like that.
that's pretty neat though.
Like
That's a great
it
idea.
really appeals to me to actually run a race that has a solo division.
Yeah.
And some of these races that are getting so big and busy, I feel like that might be a way that they can limit the people a little bit more,
Oh,
and
yeah,
the cars
totally.
and the traffic. And
Yep.
that's another thing. Like, aren't we supposed to be kind of like caring about the land, the air,
Right.
Yeah.
and all this stuff? And like,
Well, I still think that's probably
everybody's
the
driving around.
like the biggest complaint with like a Leadville is that situation with the
Oh.
traffic.
Right.
You know, some places it doesn't have the congestion impact,
Yes.
right? But places
Yeah,
like
but
a
a lot
Leadville,
of the aid stations just get crushed. Like you were telling us in the previous interview how you volunteered at Brighton last year and how
Mhm.
crazy busy it was.
yeah, where
And the runners couldn't get service because their crew and their pacers were just milling
friends,
about.
people with
Yeah.
banners and signs.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, so a race like that would be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
So do they when they do a solo division? Do they have that far as placement too? Like you could take first in solo, but someone takes a first, or is it just more based on the lottery system?
There must be a separate division. I
Hmm.
mean,
To say,
but I didn't look at it that closely, I guess, to look at that.
Huh,
Right.
That's interesting though. Kind of a neat little
I like that
spin on
idea.
it. If you can do it, because I'd like to try one by myself. Still,
I like to
Never
keep it
have.
simple, you know?
Yeah. Well, on our drive down here, we were talking about this whole new fishing thing that we're going to start doing.
Yeah,
Ultra fishing?
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
ultra
much.
fishing.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
talking about it for months, right? Especially since after El Vaquero, we talked
Yeah.
about it during El Vaquero.
Oh, yeah.
When I was whittling a pole
Yeah.
on the course.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, I was kidding.
That's what
But-
took them so long.
But yeah, we were talking about that on the way down here. And
Mhm.
And just that type of fishing. What's that rod called?
Tenkara.
It's
It's
Oh.
from
Tenkara.
Japan. It's like 400 years old, and it was just
Oh,
you
wow.
have no reel. It's just a line on a bamboo pole is how they do
Mhm.
it in Japan. But
Right.
it's more relaxation type.
You don't have to worry about
Dude.
just
The simplicity of it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no reel. There's no all these. It's just boom. You're just doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what no pace is like. It's just it keeps it simple. And then if you have no crew,
Then you're all on your own.
yeah, you got nothing to
Your
worry
aid
about except for
stations are
you.
good. You don't
They
need
are.
crew.
Yeah, and I think we brought it up just a minute ago too. Sometimes seeing a familiar face
It
can
is
help.
nice.
It does. That's nice.
But I mean,
But we know so many people in this area. You're going to probably recognize somebody at the aid station.
Yeah.
And they're hopefully going to be nice enough to say, hey.
Oh, Yeah, like just
Yeah,
definitely.
that happens a lot when you
Yeah.
are. I mean, we all do it when you're at a race, when you're waiting for either you're crewing for somebody or you're waiting to pace somebody. Not you, because you don't pace, but but someone comes through and you see them and you're like, hey, do you need something? Do you want me to get? Because that's just kind of the community in itself. So I think, far as a crew goes, it's more about maybe if you just want to see that certain someone,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
a spouse,
Or
or
if you
a
just wanna ride
child,
home.
or you want to ride home because it's like I'm done and I hope
And
they show
another
up here.
thing with that is that if you do have somebody meeting you at the aid stations, it's kind of a lure to stay there a little longer than you might otherwise want to.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're taking time out of their day, and I'm going to give them a minute. What's the
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
You know, like
So she's got all these little wise tidbits.
I know.
like
in and
it.
out, in and out, and then if there's no one to see here, move along.
That's right.
Well, you brought it up before too. Is like you were saying your best time at Wasatch, you spent an overall time of like 20-something minutes total.
Total.
That's
An aid
like
station.
24 or 21, or it was less than half an hour. I know
Yeah,
that.
that's because the best I've ever done at Wasatch was a sub 30 barely. But I went back and looked at my aid stations, 3 hours.
Oh, geez.
Can you believe?
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's when I
Like,
looked at
take
it.
that off your time, and you're like, wow, I
That-
could have sent
Yeah.
it.
But then I kind of looked at a couple because I thought that was first thing I went back and looked. I'm like, are you kidding me? 3 hours in aid stations, and I did this my best time. I was totally stoked with it, but I'm like, I could have
That's
done
really
better.
just thinking about only 20 minutes.
That's I
24
couldn't imagine doing that.
That's like a minute.
It was
2
1
minutes.
and 2 minutes.
It's like 2 minutes at each aid station.
I mean, a good goal is under an hour. Like a realistic for
Holy cow.
most people. Like, why take more than an hour?
No, I totally agree, but just
Yeah.
being able to actually do that and execute that,
That's the hard part. I
that's
think,
hard
for
because you
lots of
do get
reasons.
caught up in the aid station. If you can sit down, you're screwed.
You can't sit down.
Yeah.
Well,
You're host.
I went back at that time I ran with 3 hours in the aid station. I looked, and realistically, absolutely, I could have cut a couple hours without trying. But I know there was specific 2 situations where taking longer helped my race
Right.
because I was in such a bad place. Like if I
Right.
would just checked in and out, I might have just
I've seen people execute that, and I'm intrigued, but I've never had it work for me.
Right.
Well, it wasn't like I wanted to execute it. It
Right.
executed me, basically. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you're not moving, so let's take care of this.
Right.
See, I think of it as like, well, I'm not doing anything here that's good. When I leave, I'm still going to feel this terrible, so I might as well start moving and get
Yeah.
going.
Right. I think
Wasting
that's
time.
for a lot of people who have never done a race before. It's important for them to hear that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You're going to feel bad whether you're in the aid station or not.
Exactly.
So just keep going.
Unless,
Exactly.
like, that time for me, my sock was ripped in 2 toes. I had to stop. Once the socks came off, we found lots of blisters. So
Right.
that
So you
got taken
took care of that.
Yeah, so I mean, for
Well,
me,
that's-
but it's
that's
different.
Fine.
But I just
Yeah.
couldn't imagine, like, if I look back, I'm like 20-something minutes over a 100-mile race. I mean, again, your time is going to be stellar. But
Yeah.
just like Joel said, executing that would be difficult. But you have to know, like you mentioned before, is you come in an aid station. Okay, 173 in, out, boom, done. And you're
And
right
you have
through.
to have a plan,
Yeah.
know what you're going to do at that
Yeah.
aid station before you
Right.
even get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you work through that? You just make that mental list. I need food, I need water, and I know exactly what I want, and I'm out.
Yep.
Is that what you do?
Yep. All business.
All business.
It's business time. Got my business socks on.
And the less time you have to spend looking for that drop bag, because some races have people looking for your drop bags for you,
Yeah.
and some don't.
Right.
Some have them in order and many don't.
Yep. So that's kind of a gamble, and that's why I'm thinking this year I'm going to axe some of the drop bag places just because I don't want to spend that time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the thing that I'm taking the most away from talking to you today personally is you mentioned something really cool about what you carry with you, right? And you said it really good. It's like if you're running 8 hours, take enough for 5.5. And this is during a race, not your training.
So this was in a previous interview. She
Yeah.
divulged this information.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, because I have, and pretty much every time I've ever ran, I can honestly say that I'll take more than I need in a race, and I finish, and I go to unpack when I get home, and I've got the exact same stuff I started
Yeah.
with.
Right.
Because
I've
you
got
know
enough
you're going
for
to eat something at
next
the aid
year.
station.
Yep.
So leave a couple hours worth of food for that. And if you blow it, you won't do it again. But,
Yeah.
you always eat something at the aid station.
Yeah, to me that's simple, right? When you say it, I'm like, well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. But when you're getting something ready, it's like, hey, I got this much to this aid station. There's no drop bag. I need to take
Right.
10 gels,
Yeah.
to get me this far. When realistically, I'll probably take 4 of those or 5 of those.
Yeah.
So
You know
bring
what I mean?
6,
Yeah.
and then you'll be covered, but you won't have 4 extra. You'll have like 1 extra.
That's my favorite thing I'm taking away from this, for real. I mean, that's something I will
Right.
absolutely 100% use.
Yeah.
As simple as it sounds, because I'm an overpacker.
Yeah, you cut out the aid stations.
And me and Joel do this too when we're talking about gear, because we're gear junkies. And it's like, okay, we want a vest, but I don't want to carry stuff.
Right.
So I have killer vests, the Zygos and the Velocities and these other vests, but I'm like, they carry too much stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, well, just don't carry stuff. I'm like, no, if I have room, I'm putting something in there.
Yeah.
You know,
It's okay to have empty pockets.
Well, yeah, but it's like, but when you have a pocket, you're like, oh, I could stuff a,
burrito in there.
burrito in there. I
Right.
could stuff, something in there. But so it's like, oh, I need something smaller. I can't have the space.
Right. Now you're like, I don't want a vest at all.
I don't, but then I'm still trying to figure out my
How are you going to carry your water?
water and stuff.
You
So I'm
need
in
water.
I'm in the zone of I don't know what I like, because
Yeah.
when you wear a vest, I don't like bladders. I just
don't
don't.
like bladders either.
But I've had problems
handheld?
lately.
No, a vest with
Bottles.
Bottles.
Up front. Do you go soft bottles or?
I've transitioned to the soft bottles, but
Yeah.
actually that's creating a little stress for me because
Uh-oh.
they're smaller.
Yeah.
They
and
are.
so like, sessions to swallow rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need 3?
Yeah.
Right.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. For sure from Big Mountain to Lambs
Yeah.
Right.
or Alexander. Yeah, because 2 was barely enough, and I'm missing about 5 ounces, I think, or 6 ounces.
Which is significant. Well, you don't
So do you
think
drink?
about it.
So the game plan is either drink more at the aid station.
I usually forget because, I'm not
You
there.
just in and
Yeah.
out. That's true.
She
Good
doesn't have
point.
time because she
Maybe
doesn't
that's
have
why you
time.
need a crew person to say, Sarah, stop. Give me 30 seconds and chug this extra 5 ounces
Put
of
the
water.
straw in your mouth and
Yeah.
just
If I
Just
drink
raw.
something there, I usually chug some ginger ale or something.
Oh,
yeah.
like
Yeah?
that. Yeah.
because that's what I struggle with is a pack.
Yeah.
Because I for some reason it always happens no matter what kind of shape I'm in, between my shoulder blades cramps get sore
Yeah.
when I wear a pack, because I use bottles. I don't like I try not to put anything in my hands. That's my favorite thing. It's just hands free.
Right.
And
So you can high five.
I love high fiving.
Yeah.
I love high fiving, or when I fall, I can grab on my way down. But yeah, I just don't like carrying stuff in my hands when I run. I just feel
Yeah, I
freer.
don't either. Yep.
Right.
But a pack, when I wear a vest, I either pack too much or I get sore in the shoulder area.
You need a small vest, like one of those ones that maybe UD has that's just like a shirt vest.
I have smaller vests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, he's got
stuff.
that marathon vest.
Oh, yeah. And you don't
Yeah.
like that,
looks
either?
good.
It's just,
Looks
again, it's
good.
where you put stuff too.
Yeah.
It's like,
It
putting
needs
the
to
stuff
be
in your
accessible
chest.
up here.
Yeah.
or
I
I'm
can't
probably
get
not going to get to it.
like
Yeah.
that.
I can't even
don't
move my
have the
arm like that.
flexibility.
Mhm.
I don't have the,
I don't
the
wanna
long
take it
monkey
off.
arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But that was one of the things I loved the most about
Right.
talking to is just the simplicity. Because it is. I mean, you look at trail running like when you first started, 2008. There wasn't like
Or
the
2000.
whatever.
2000.
Yeah, 2000. 'Cause
Yeah.
2008 was your first 100.
17
but,
years
I mean,
into it now.
Where nutrition has come, whether it's gels or electrolyte drinks, where gear has come, whether it's shoes, packs, what of that. Plus you've got
Totally.
where the education comes, the watches, all this other stuff. It was so much easier. And I mean that by not the mileage, but just the simplicity of it. I always joke around. I'm like, yeah, grab my canteen. I'm out the door.
Right.
Because
Yep.
there wasn't a lot there. But I mean, there's a lot of truth to that, where there's just more options and more ways to mess up your own race
Yeah.
by trying to get on splits or looking at a watch or anything else. Some other stuff we talked about was, this year's race, how you're kind of going into it, but it's a different course. Right, you haven't been on the course where it goes up Bear Canyon, which is new for you, so that kind of throws all your other years kind of out the door a little bit on where you should be at certain times, right? Because it's just so different. So how are you approaching that one?
I'm going to look at some splits from last year, and maybe I can find somebody that I've run with before and maybe just have a range.
Right.
But, honestly, might just start running and go by feel.
there you go.
Like you can't do very good math late in a race anyway, or even middle of the race.
Or ever?
Or
yeah.
ever. And so you stress yourself out thinking that you're behind your splits or ahead of your splits. Or
Right.
I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
You're going to do what you can do at that moment.
So let me
I
ask,
don't carry like a mileage watch either. I just carry something that tells me the time.
Oh, really?
like a Swatch watch.
Like an Ironman watch.
I like that. That would be cool.
I pulled out the Swatch watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the band on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you used to
So
have
it,
just like a regular like chrono watch.
yeah, it'll die
Little Casio?
otherwise. My my Garmin will die. So
Yeah.
Right.
I'm,
You don't want to worry about that.
I don't need more gizmos to keep
Like
it
hang
going.
on another
Yeah.
charger,
No.
a solar pack. Or,
No.
No.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
I think that's the thing. So, with running, this year, some of the things I talk to people about, and people ask me, and I even ask the question is, when you run a race, do you try and stick to a plan? 'Cause you said I'm gonna run how I feel. Some people say don't go out too fast. You want to save it to the end. But I've also heard people say you don't save anything. You run out of it eventually anyway. So it's not like the last 10 miles you're going to be doing 7-minute miles because you're fresh.
Right.
So
Right.
how do you run a race? Do you just go all by feel, or do you say, if I'm here by that point, I'm going too fast, or I'm going
I don't
slower?
care. I'm not going to worry about the times at all because I don't think it'll mean anything. Like never having been up Bear Canyon in my life, I have no idea how much that'll throw it off. So it'll just be more of a stress.
Right.
I'm just going to run comfortably until probably at least Brighton. Not breathe too hard. Stay on my drinking and eating. And yeah, if you have something left at the end, like I want to be able to run at Pole Line around Mill Canyon.
Right.
Down that road after Pot Hollow. All those are runnable. If I'm walking, probably blew it somewhere.
Right.
Well, it could have been nutrition, could have been weather, could
Yeah.
have been too fast.
And
There's a lot of
I
those.
have definitely gone up chin scraper way too fast before
Yeah.
and pretty much ruined myself.
And that's early. Chin scraper, for those that don't know, is like the first,
That was the first
10 miles?
Yeah.
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 And doing stuff like that just doesn't help you. Like
Do you ever look
keep it steady.
Do you ever look at a start list of, say, the women that you're running with, or even the men, and say, I'll probably see these people, or if you see somebody going, I shouldn't
That's
be
what
this
happened.
far.
I was up at Chin Scraper and the sun came up and Dave Hunt was there and I was like, uh-oh.
I'm going too fast. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we see a lot of people, because we were at Run El Vaquero, and I heard a guy say, I must be having a good race. I don't know him very well, but I'm close to Turtle Miller. Some guy said that, and I thought it was kind of
awesome.
funny,
Yeah.
because he's like, I'm running
But
fast
the
today.
other thing about that is, you can't really base your performance on anyone else because you
Right.
don't know what kind of a day they're having.
Yep.
That's
Or
true.
You
how
don't
they're
know what
coming
their
into the
year
race.
has been.
Yep.
You don't
Yep.
know what they've been doing at all.
Right.
You don't know if their stomach hurts or how many times they've been in the bushes or
Yeah.
Oh, that's
That's-
the worst.
You
when that
never
gets
know.
to that point.
That's my Wasatch memories.
Yeah.
We'll switch the subject
run your
now.
own race and just keep it steady. And when you get closer to the end, if you still have something, run. Try
See-
to run anything flat.
And I think that's over time, and I am nowhere near someone that should be giving advice on running. Let's just be clear with that, okay? Other than wear some, well, I shouldn't even say that. People like shoes, but I will say my own personal philosophy is I run how I feel. And I will stick to that going forward. It used to be don't go out too hard, save stuff for the end. So sometimes I'd be running, feeling amazing, and back off completely. Nope,
Right.
I got to save it. Well, then I never even get to that point. I DNF.
Right.
Or I get to that point and I'm still wrecked. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if I'd ran faster there and I'm still walking at the end.
Right.
So I just go how I feel. And for me, that works the best.
I think it's
Because
a
you
good
can
plan.
get in those ebbs and flows. You're always
Yeah.
going to have them. So when I have a wave, I ride that sucker, man.
Yep.
It's like cowabunga down, whatever I'm doing.
And
Right.
sometimes your brain tells you, I can't run this. It's a little bit uphill or I can't do that. And then you start running. You're like, oh, this actually feels pretty good.
Yeah.
All hurts the same. I might as well keep running.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, when I'm doing that too, I'm smart enough to know if I'm breathing like a Clydesdale and I
Yeah.
can see my heart move in my shirt.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm probably going too fast.
Yeah.
Or I look at my watch and I'm clocking a 6:30 because I'm chasing
Yeah.
somebody. I'm like, yeah, it's probably out of my comfort zone.
But if you feel good, you should keep up with whatever.
Yeah.
That's right. You got to
pace you're
roll with it.
on.
Yeah, and I think that's because we get questions
Mhm.
that ask all the time. They're like, are you going to go out hard? Are you going to try and hit mile X by this time? And it's like,
Well,
ideally,
sometimes I like that.
Yeah, ideally, I'd like
Yeah.
to be at the turnaround at Vaquero at this time because then
Right.
I know
Mhm.
coming back I could do this and finish in this time.
Right.
But if I'm, wanting to hit a place in 3 hours and I hit there and I'm like going to be there knowing if I'm doing 240, I'm not going to go, I better stop and wait because that's too
Right.
soon. I'm like, no, let's ride it out. I just banked 20 minutes on the walk back.
That's
you know?
right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you kind of do races, just how you feel. Don't worry about what's around you.
Yep.
Run your race how you feel, and if it
Yep.
works, it works. If it doesn't, well, I must have done something somewhere,
Yeah.
and then find out what that was later on.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Or just try to overcome any hurdle that you come across as
Which will
you go.
happen.
It will happen,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, for sure. Just work through it, and when you feel good, run.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Right?
Yeah, I know.
Run when you feel good. I usually run when I feel bad. That's strength training. And then the off season, or what we consider an off season, is the winter time here
Right.
in Utah, which is roughly October, November to February, March, depending on our
Mm-hmm.
year. You are a skier.
I'm a
right?
skier.
You kind of back off the running, occasional maybe.
Yep, I kind of back off. As soon as the ski area opens, I pretty much ski.
All the time.
Every day.
Yeah.
150 days a year.
150 days a year.
And I do some running too. I have time for both. You know,
Right.
I have good daytime free. I work a lot of nights.
Mhm.
So yeah, I go up Grandeur quite a bit and then I go skiing. Or vice versa.
That's a full day. That's a
is.
fun
That's
day.
a good day.
Right? It's like Joel says, like, you're living the life.
She is.
Just enjoying it. And you do enjoy it, right? Because we talked about that. I mean, you've been running for a long time, running races for a long time. I mean, what is it that keeps you in it?
I like going back to my old favorites, like the races that I like and have done a lot. And, Wasatch, I would like to get 10 at least. And Speed Goat, I've done it almost every year. I missed one. So I like those favorites. And there are some races that I would like to go do that look cool, that I just haven't been able to fit in yet. The time when you're actually trained enough to the end of the season isn't very long.
No.
And you can't race too much. I try to, but it's foolish.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that.
Yeah.
Right.
And, I'm not usually ready for a February or March race, and I kind of shut it down usually by the end of September.
Because one of the things, too, you're saying is just that you love it and you're having fun, so why not keep doing it, right?
If I'm having fun, there's no reason to not do it. And
Right.
100 is probably my favorite distance just because of the element of running all through the night, the mental game of it, the logistics of like lights and food and trying to keep going for 24, 5, 30 hours.
34,
so I like that.
35.
Not for her.
Yeah,
I like that part.
That's why I'm saying that. I'm like, I was 35. And so there's races out there that you love to go back to. We've talked about, Wasatch is obviously one of them. It's here. It's one of your favorite races. You've done Smut.
I love Smut.
Yeah.
Smut up there in
Love
Pocatello.
Aquero. I haven't been to enough, but I would like to get back there.
You need to come back next year. I'm going to try and work the finish line. I
Oh,
already
cool.
told Ty I'm volunteering. Right when I
Oh,
crossed
cool.
the finish line, I said I'm volunteering next year.
Nice.
So
Yeah, he has a great finish line.
the
Love
whole
that
race is just ridiculous, and this year especially with the flowers.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
But
They were so thick this year.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous.
crazy.
And me and Joel would know. We spent a lot of time looking at them.
We did.
Too. We wanted to take it all in.
I got sick of looking at them.
But you've had, 2013. I'm going to bring that year up because to me, I look at your 2013 and I'm just like, I shake my head. You had Zane Gray, then you went to the Bighorn 100, then you went to Hard Rock 100, then the Speed Goat 50K, then the Wasatch 100, and then the Bear 100.
Yeah.
It was
I mean,
a little crazy,
What
but
was what's going on that year? You just want to, hey, I like that race. Boom, I'm in.
well, no. So in 2012, I did Wasatch and the Bear back to back because I thought if I put in for Hard Rock and I ever get in, I'm doing the Rocky Mountain Slam.
Right.
I just told myself that.
Yeah.
And so I did them 3 weeks apart, and I was like, oh, I'll just see how that goes. Everybody's doing it. It looks fun.
Everybody's doing it.
And so
Okay.
I did it.
I
and
missed
I was
the
like,
memo
wow.
on that year.
I did too. I didn't get invited.
and then 2013 came, and I got into Hard Rock, and I was like, wow, I'm doing it.
That's real now.
It's real. And so, I had to sign up for something in the spring to get ready for Bighorn.
Right.
That was Zane Gray.
Yep, Zane Gray. And then, I just did it and pretty much been injured since. No.
We'll not put that part in there.
Right.
But even since then, though, you've been, running, for 2014, there's other races. You did Hard Rock Wasatch, 2015, Wasatch Bear again, 2 weeks apart. 2016 is when you were injured, so you didn't get
Right.
a run at all because you had some
Right.
foot problems, right?
2015, I just wanted to do the Bear because it was my birthday.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
Nice.
I've never done them 2 weeks apart. This seems like a good year to try.
it's my birthday.
Yeah, that's my birthday present.
I earned it.
Yeah.
Well, you did it.
I did it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's more than most people can
I
say.
know.
Yeah.
2 weeks apart, especially.
Right. And so that, I don't know, having two really awesome 100s, classic point-to-points, so close. Like, I would love to get back to doing the Bear some more. I love
Right.
that race. And the trout at the end, I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's all time up there.
That was my
So.
favorite part. My first experience with the Bear was the finish line. There was shrimp, trout,
Mhm.
and something else. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I just crude and paste. I probably shouldn't eat any of this.
No, you can.
Oh, I know. That's what
It's for everyone.
Leland, he's a chatterbox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not. He's like, yeah, you can have some. And so I had some, and then people kept bringing it over, like the people working. No, we have plenty. We have plenty. And I'm like, I'm here. I might as well eat.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's a good gig up there. I
Yeah,
love
it is.
it. And I miss it. So
It's still an old, even though it's like gaining popularity, and it's still kind of has that older school feel of a race,
Yeah.
though.
I kind of have wondered that because it's gotten so big lately and so many people signing up for it to get their qualifier.
Mhm.
I wonder if I know as many people now doing it and if it would be as
Oh.
fun for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's good.
I feel like a
point.
lot of races have kind of changed a little bit with
That newer generation
Yeah.
coming in.
And so we talked about that. You'd like that smaller racing, the older school. And that's what we talked about. Like a Smut is still that way.
Mhm.
El Vaquero will always be that way.
Yep.
I like a small old school race with ultra runners as the RDs.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense. I mean, you get an ultra runners and RD, your chances of that race being put on, being stocked at aid
Yes.
stations, course marked,
Mm-hmm.
all the nuances tuned in are
I don't know if I've
pretty
actually
solid.
done it very many or any races that aren't like that.
Yeah. There's more now, I think, without
A lot
like what
more.
we'd say a true mountain ultra runner, not just, hey, I've done one, I can pull off a race here because it's pretty or because
Right.
I can get a permit or because I can charge $300
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
There's definitely more of those,
Mhm.
but you have those because you hear about still some of them across the United States, like a Waldo
Yep.
is another one that's still kind of old school.
Yeah, it is. Chuck a nut.
Chuck a nut,
Mhm.
That's old school.
put on by Chrissy,
Mhm.
So again, you got that ultra runner background.
Yep.
So yeah, there's still a lot of those. So what are some races that you have not done that maybe is something you'd like to jump into?
I think Beaverhead looks pretty cool,
Yeah.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, that is put on to the T.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Really.
You'll be surprised at how
Mhm.
much effort they put into it.
Yeah.
And it's you have to worry about nothing.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's crazy.
That one looks cool. The Ute 100 looks cool.
Yeah. That'll
Some
be
of
its
those
first
old
year.
school SoCal races that have the solo division look
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
I've been
Um,
looking at some California races actually for next
Mhm.
year, just because
There's
get
one
out
in
there.
Santa Barbara. It's the 9 or the 7 trails or 9 hills or something like that. That's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it's
Huh.
like 35 miles and just a real butt kicker.
Wow.
That looks pretty good.
I know. I'm trying to remember. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
The River of No Return looks
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Stanhope, you mentioned that
Stanhope.
earlier.
Hope,
yeah,
yep.
That's that 60K.
Run
in
Rabbit
Idaho.
Run would be great, but I got this Wasatch thing on my back.
Yeah, you do.
That's the one that still I still haven't wrapped my maybe around. Is the Run
Yeah.
Rabbit Run, for different reasons, but I don't know. And I'm sure it's a great race, and I know people have run it that enjoyed it. But for me,
Right.
just looking at it, I don't know if it's.
The course is a
Yeah.
little funky on it.
Yeah,
I
don't-
think
It's not like
I've
point
seen
to
that
point,
too,
right?
maybe.
It's like, well, you gotta go over here and then you gotta come back to here to get the mileage.
Yeah,
I
that we
don't like
talk
it when they
me and-
force it.
Yeah,
I
we
wonder
talk
how
about that all the
runnable it
time.
is too.
I think it's really runnable.
Oof, that's not good.
So you're a vert person. You like to get some vert in.
Classic point to point with a lot of vert would be
Okay.
my preference.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
a loop.
A loop,
A
that's
loop with
some
lots
vert.
of vert.
Like a Hard Rock's got the loop,
Yeah.
Wasatch point to point,
Mhm.
Bears point to point.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
I
all
want to
of them
go
have vert.
somewhere,
Yeah, I think that's why I enjoy
What
doing
about
it.
Cascade Crest?
That one looks cool too, but it's too close to Wasatch. But I would like to do that one because it's
Good
like
point.
where I grew up, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, not exactly, but kind of.
Cascade Crest is
That
one.
looks cool. And the
Yeah, you're.
Fat Dog, that one looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that does.
That
That's
does.
like beginning of August. Is that when that is? Something like that.
Early to mid-August,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you're kind of screwed because you've got this Wasatch thing on your
And
back.
August is like really busy for me.
Yeah.
Like it's nice to be able to just do a local race and be able to work too.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the Utes are pretty local.
It
Moab.
is.
Local.
Yeah,
I can make
Moab.
it home after the Ute, I think.
Yeah.
Somebody could drive you home.
She probably
That's
just
what you
drive
need to
home.
say.
She'd get on her motorcycle.
Her
drive
I
home.
don't like to do
motorcycle.
that too much. I try to be careful.
Yeah, that poor guy last
I
year at
know.
Wasatch.
2
Yeah.
years ago.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that was terrible.
No, I need to. You need to sleep.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do. It's
Sleep it off.
important.
Well, I mean, your body's just gone through so much.
Mhm.
you
It's
know.
wrecked.
I mean, I've driven home from the Wasatch 100, and I live in North Ogden, and that
I
was
drove
still.
home from the Bear and damn
Yeah.
near fell asleep.
Yeah.
I know. The Bear is dicey, and then I have just picked up my car at the coffee shop from the bus ride from Wasatch.
Oh yeah.
And even just getting from there to Cottonwood Heights, I'm like, oh boy.
I wish I would have had the quad shot before I left the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with your race this year for Wasatch, you talked about not having like necessarily a time goals or anything else going on how you feel, but you feel good going into it other than you've been nursing a sore foot, right?
I have been.
Busted wheel, huh?
Just for a week, though. So
Yeah.
maybe it'll peace out just as quickly as it came.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're dry needling.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
keep talking about that. And
Yep.
it's been around for a while, but
Yeah.
it seems like it's gaining so much more popularity because you
Right.
hear about it more. Or maybe I hear about it more because I know what it is now. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if I was thinking noodling instead of dry needling. I'm like, oh,
Catching
people are
catfish
catching
with your
catfish with their hand. But you love that. That's
I
something
love
that's
it.
been
Revive,
really
Sport
successful.
and Spine or Spine and Sport. I always get it mixed up, but
Here in
Yeah.
Salt Lake City, is that where
it's
you
in
go?
Cottonwood Heights.
Cottonwood Heights.
Yep.
There you go.
Nice.
And he is great.
Yeah, and so that's helped you a lot. And then once you're through this one, you're just going to kind of wind down and get into ski season.
Yep. I'll probably ride my bike a bit, walk around, hopefully do some nice runs locally.
Just some
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Just
the fall.
Yeah.
Because the fall
like
in
the
Utah
running
is
here. It's
ridiculously nice.
Yeah, it can
As
be.
long as it doesn't drop early snow, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Which who knows
Yeah.
this year, right?
You never know.
Yeah.
I don't like snow before November 1st.
I think
Yeah,
that's fair.
I-
I think
yeah.
that should be a rule.
I'm not a huge.
Ruins the trail.
I like not having snow before Thanksgiving personally. In the
Down low.
mountains
I
I'm
like to
okay.
go skiing.
Down low.
Yeah, in the mountains I'm
Down
fine
low.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like in my house,
Yep.
our bench trail,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
if it's dry on Thanksgiving, that
Oh,
makes me
so
happy.
happy.
Yep.
Yeah, because
That's the best.
we have last year was a long winter,
It was.
and I'm not good with winter. I'm not a avid downhill skier, although this year I want to pick up skate skiing.
Yep.
So I need like tutor and gear. So if you're
Yep.
out there, I need tutor and gear for skate skiing.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a long winter last year, and that can get a little mind-boggling when you want to run.
Right.
When you're
Yeah.
not skiing 150 days a year,
Right.
Right.
which I missed that by 150 days.
Yeah.
I almost caught you.
Yep.
But that's what you do, is just kind of keep yourself active, another passion, another love you do.
Yeah, I don't get so obsessed about, 50 or 60 miles a week and
Right.
15,000 vert and where am I going to go and how am I going to get that mileage. I just, stay active. And, if my friends want to go for a bike ride, sweet, I'll go for a bike ride and, try to mix it up and cross train and keep my body maybe
Alive and-
another decade.
Another decade.
of
So
this.
when do you transition out? Is it snow dependent when you transition out from winter
To ski or
to
to
running again, to
Oh,
where you
yeah,
kind of get
it's-
back into it?
It's
Totally snow
totally
dependent?
weather dependent.
Okay.
Like if it's a high pressure or there's dirt down here, I'm more enticed to start getting out. I mean, I try starting in January. It kind of depends on if you get into hard rock or not.
Yeah.
That pretty much lights a fire under your bum.
Yep.
But yeah, I just if it's powder day, I'm not running. If I was supposed to run 15 miles, I don't care.
It's
I
powder
just
day.
don't-
It's a trumps it, right?
Yeah,
It's just
but
that's my
by
thing.
2:00, if I'm over it and I don't work that day, I might come down here and run on some dirt for a couple hours or
Right.
an hour, or I just go based on feel. Those good years, I was running 50 miles a week in the winter, but I haven't done that since, honestly. And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Not just ramping up in April is,
Or August.
yeah.
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 Ramping up mid-August
Yeah.
for September
September.
race.
Like it's kind of better to start in January, February.
Well, I think that's hard too for
hard.
some people. I mean, for you, it's probably because you ski so much, but like someone like me or someone that doesn't ski as much, they have that long winter, and then you
Mhm.
start seeing people running races in January
Mhm.
because they're there.
Right.
And you're
Mhm.
like, man, I need to get out. And then it's
Mhm.
like February, the bigger races start picking up, the Black Canyons,
And you feel like you're behind when you
Yeah.
start in April, and you don't really want to be behind. So I try to maintain. I don't like to take more than a week off.
yeah.
Of any running. So, but even on a good year of snow, there's always downtime where you're not like, I don't need to ski all day today. I
Right.
just don't.
Well, no.
But I
Just
think
a couple hours a day is
Yeah. I
Perfect.
mean, on my days off, I try to I call it binge skiing. I might binge ski one whole day. Or something.
right.
But when you're doing this other activity, because skiing's not something that you're just totally lethargic. I mean, you're working
Mhm.
out. So when you
Yeah.
get back to running, the transition or the buildup is not as long. It's like you come around a little bit quicker because at least you're
A
still.
little bit. I feel like it's totally different a little bit. Like if I can just get out and run a little bit, like 3 or 4 days a week.
That's a
It's
little bit,
better.
huh?
Well, like
We call
5
that binge
miles.
running.
5
Yeah,
miles or
exactly.
something. I mean, it's a mentally challenging thing, but you definitely, if you put your mind to something, like if you get into hard rock or the year I know I ran with you that year a little bit, the Zion 100 in April
yeah.
or
Yeah.
May, actually it was in May. if you put your mind to something, you will make the time and you'll be out there.
Right.
And that's pretty much what I try to do.
Yeah.
So if I don't have anything on the docket until, September 100, I'm like, well, I can ski all day if I want.
Yeah,
That's true.
I don't have to really do anything.
Yeah.
I don't even know where my shoes are.
Right.
Just got my Uggs.
Right. Right. So it just depends.
Yeah. I think that's a good point because, we're in a different area. I mean, you get different parts of the country where they don't have necessarily maybe the same problems we do with finding dirt or staying running, where they don't have snow or their winters are more wet and just rain.
Yeah.
But I think for us, it's almost like a blessing in a way where it kind of forces you to slow down,
Right.
And says, hey, I get you want to do this, but it's time to slow down and you don't have a choice.
And that's why I like Grandeur, because it's not really running.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a big hike,
Yeah.
and then you scurry down and
Scurry
you're
down.
done.
I like
Sled
that.
down.
Sled.
But it
Go
makes
on
me feel
I-80.
like I still kind of have some of that running in me.
Yeah.
Remember when Carl had that luge track years
yeah.
ago?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we need that again.
The
Maybe
luge.
not just his, but just somewhere.
Somewhere, have a nice
That'd be
luge track.
fun.
Right.
Hike up, luge down, hike
Yeah.
up, get some repeats.
Right.
See? That'd be fun.
I've always said going up Malins and Ogden, if you take a sled and a helmet, you could find a way down.
My gosh.
Just
that
keep
would
it
be
up
terrifying.
top. Oh, it would be. It'd be asinine is what it would be. But
I'm
but
sure we can
someone to
make
do
we
it.
can make a really cool luge track off the top of that in the north-facing woods.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Kind of our little
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Invite only.
We'll invite Sarah up.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
invite you up so you can
Yeah.
show us how to
Sweet.
do it. But for the we've talked about this a little bit too. For people that are getting into the sport, how you talked about you had mentors coming in, people that you found that were doing this thing that were a little bit older than you and had been around doing it. Put you on the spot. What are some things people coming into the sport now should know about this culture that's been around for a long time with some very good, history to it, people in the history? What were some ideas or suggestions you'd have for people getting into this? Not just racing stuff.
It's just hard to put my finger on it. People, it just seems like they're so worried about their times and stuff. And it's like per mile.
Strava.
Yes, Strava is, I'm a junkie right now, but it's weird. I use it for a tool for myself, I guess.
yeah.
And I like the fact that I don't have to remember how long it took me to get from point A to point B last time.
Yeah.
Right.
And even little parts that I really could care less about.
Yeah. You just got a medal here.
Yeah.
Huh?
But, people are so worried with their running pace, and it's not about that, really. I mean, you want to run and be fast, and that's
Right.
cool, but, it doesn't translate to, roads
No.
the way people sometimes seem to make it out
They
to
get
be.
too hung up on that.
Yeah. And I don't know. I find it's more about the camaraderie and the fun and mellow, laid-back races that are fantastic.
Well, we talked to some people too, and it's don't take yourself too seriously either, because I think sometimes you run into that, whether it's what
Right.
happens on your Instagram page or your
Yeah.
or your Facebook page, how many people liked me or follow me or liked my post or commented on how cool that was. I think people come to get caught up in that a little bit too, and we've talked about that as people put themselves in situations they maybe shouldn't be in because hey, they did it, I can do it.
Right.
Exactly.
And we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a hard one. I even get that sometimes. I'm like, oh, I really want to do that route, and those people did it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard such and such about that route.
Well, that's neat to hear from you because you've had such great success for so long in ultra running. But for to hear you say, I don't know about that. I mean, that tells you something. It's like, hey,
Right.
you know your abilities, you know your strengths, you know what you're comfortable with.
It's more like the ridge walks and stuff, the
Yeah.
ridge scrambles, because
Mhm.
I have climbed in my life, and there was a time where that's pretty much all I did, or at least half the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it helps, but I'm like, I thought that ridge was dicey, or is it dicey, or I don't even know. How do I...
You're less likely to risk that now, right? Compared maybe when you were younger?
It gets scary. When you're not climbing a lot, it's far more scary
Right.
when you actually
That
go
comfort
again.
level's not there.
Yeah, on the scrambly ridges, but I'll still do it, little ones,
Right.
you
Stuff
know.
that you're comfortable with.
But I think
Yeah.
But I think too, me and Joel brought this up before, where we've done stuff, but conditions change too, to where we've got to a position where we've done it 100 times and we looked at it and go, yeah, probably not today. Right. And I think that's another important factor that people, just because you've done it doesn't mean you've done it that day. Right.
Right.
And things change.
They do.
Quickly and easily.
But
You
if
have
I
to be-
can't do something I used to be able to do, it makes me feel old.
Yeah.
Oh, no, really?
But that's if the conditions are the same too. Like if,
Right.
hey, I've gone to, X point before on
Right.
a training run, but I can't do it now. That's different
Right.
than condition wise.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, kind of the key thing, because when you do have such a crazy place to live like Utah, with snow, with weather coming in high mountains quickly. I mean, a rainstorm, thunderstorm can hit you without you even paying attention. You have to know the right and wrong way to do things. Or me and Joel talked about it. We went up on Ben Lomond one time, and before we went up, we actually looked for bail points. Like, okay, if this happened, where could we bail? And we're looking not until we hit the very bottom. And it's
Right.
like, then we're not
500
even
feet
yeah,
down.
then we can't do it.
Yeah.
And I
You
feel
know.
like a lot of those times when you get caught in situations like that, I'm less psyched to be in those situations now. When I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, it's fine, we'll get through this, but I'm kind of stressed out.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, I
You're
don't even want to
Teflon
find
when you're
myself
younger.
in that
Yeah.
situation now. I don't know if I could deal with it.
Right.
You know?
Well, we like you said, we've talked about it before, and we've had, Ty Drain, he's had a
He
run
just
in
had
this
that
winter,
accident recently.
and he's been around forever, and he's super comfortable with what he can do and what he has done. So things happen.
Yeah.
But I think with people coming into the sport, me and Joel say all the time, find some mentors,
Right.
Find some people to run with, and pick their
Take your
brain.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be in a rush.
Don't be in a rush.
The mountain's going to
Yep.
be there tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
going to be there next winter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really want to do it, get yourself in the best situation to do it, both mentally and
Exactly.
physically, to
Yeah.
do these things. Because you talked about it on the last one, it's like the transition from a downhill road marathon
Right.
to the Wasatch
To the
100.
Wasatch. How's that compute?
Yeah.
Like, how are they even related? What inspires somebody to do that?
Yeah.
I don't see the correlation, but
Right. That's because you don't like people, too.
yeah.
what?
She's like, me? I love people.
Looking so innocent.
And then we talked to you, too, because this is always a fun debate. Wasatch and the Bear, prettier and harder. And you kind of gave your 2 cents there.
I think Wasatch is a little harder for sure,
Right.
even with the easier ending now. 15 miles of basically descent.
That hurts, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, honestly, that's not easier.
No.
Yeah.
Because you have to run that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you
that's,
do.
give me a mountain to climb and I'd be way more stoked,
Right.
honestly.
I'm not.
And so it's a little harder. And mentally it's tough because it's hot out there.
Yep.
It's not that pretty. I mean,
No,
it's a
the
little
last
pretty, but you have
15
to
is
talk yourself
really
into
not
it.
that pretty.
No.
No.
And so it's a little harder. I think they're both equally beautiful,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, there's no pavement at the Bear,
Nope.
which is
Yeah.
huge.
Except for the first.
Very,
But there is
very
some dirt
finish.
first
road.
mile is maybe pavement.
That very finish
It's not even a
line.
mile.
Yeah.
Maybe
The
it's half
finish,
mile.
you've got just a touch of pavement.
Yeah.
Just a corner.
Smidge.
But you can
A smidgen.
smell the
Yeah.
blackberry shakes, though.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Hit the
downhill
pavement.
instead of uphill.
It
Every
is.
time
It's
I get-
very downhill and very
Mhm.
runnable.
And I've
Yeah.
only paced the finish a few times, but when I hit the junction to go left to the finish, I
Yeah.
want to go
Mhm.
right to get a milkshake.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's
true.
that's the worst
That's
finish
the
line.
that's the problem for you.
Yeah, is the milkshake.
Right.
If they moved a milkshake truck on that one,
Milkshake truck.
yeah, we're talking PR,
Yeah.
CR.
Course record. Nice.
Yeah. So nothing else coming up this year. Next year, you're still kind of fiddling around with it. If you get a qualifier, you'll put back in for Hard Rock,
Mhm.
Right.
which you will. You'll
I'd like
you'll
to go
get
back there,
Wasatch.
but I'm not like, I just let the lottery gods decide. I don't have any like, oh, I really want to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
A year with Speed Goat and Smut and Wasatch and running around here is
That
pretty
sounds
awesome.
Pretty good.
That's a good
You know?
year.
I like
And
that.
I don't have any issues with any of those. So,
Yeah.
and maybe throw in the Bear.
Yeah, what the
But
heck?
yeah, I'd
Oh,
like
what
to
the
mix
hell?
it up a little.
Yeah, I like to mix it up. I'll throw the Bear in at the
Yeah.
end. I'll mix
I
it
haven't
up.
been to the Bear since, 2015 or
time to go
something,
back.
I think. Yeah.
Jeez, that's awesome. Because you've had good success at both Wasatch and Bear.
Yeah.
In
They're both great.
yeah.
I mean, the finish line food at the Bear is far superior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
good stuff. That trout is yummy.
But the local aspect of the Wasatch 100 is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because people just come out to watch and
Right.
spectate, and you see
Hang
people
out.
out and about.
Well, I think both finish lines are nice. I wish there was more shade at the Wasatch finish line. Like I used to love the Homestead finish.
Yeah, that was
the
good.
best.
That big tree
Oh,
that everyone went under.
Yeah, that was to me. That
Well,
was
now
the
you can
best.
bring pop-ups, right?
Yeah, I was under a pop-up last time, I remember.
Yeah, you got
I brought some
have
pop-up.
You gotta have your pop-up game strong.
How about some soda?
Yeah.
How about some pop-up?
Some pop.
So do you have any desires or any idea of like a UTMB, a CCC? Does that tickle your fancy?
Seeing
or?
all those pictures and watching it right now
No?
it looks so awesome. I would
doesn't
love
it?
to.
Except for the start line, because there's people that like.
There's a
No,
lot of
it
people
looks
there.
cool. Like
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
it's worth it for once.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that for sure.
That's what Rock says. But
I'm listening to Rock, whatever he says.
it is a little
pretty
close to
much.
Wasatch, so I got to get this
Oh my
problem
gosh.
taken care of.
That is a problem for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, you've got a problem. So this is
Yeah.
8. So
No, this would be
this will be her
this would
8th
be 8th.
finish.
This will
ninth
be 8.
start, though,
Yeah,
right?
but 8th finish. So she
8th
wants
finish.
at least 10 finishes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
then-
also, like, I don't know, I could take a year off from it, I guess.
There you go.
I haven't really thought of that, but
You got to collect points, though, to get in.
I'm sure
so you
you
got
could
to chase
get
the
those.
points.
I
She'll
must
have
have
those.
points, right?
I
You've
have
got
no
it.
idea.
You've got it.
If you took last year off, I don't think
yeah,
they
I might.
count.
I might not have
So you'd have to
anything
chase
then.
points this
So what have you done
next
this year?
I never thought it was a worry until right now.
What have you done this year?
I did Scout, Logan, Speed Goat, Mill Creek, which is no points.
Yeah.
You should have points if you finish Wasatch between Smut.
I don't think that Wasatch is on the
Isn't it?
list. No.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Well, see, this is how you make decisions.
Yeah, it is.
You don't have every choice out there.
Yeah.
You know, you've got lottery gods, you've got point issues.
Yeah.
You just roll with it, and
Yeah.
they're all beautiful.
Yeah.
I would love to make it over there sometime and
Yeah. I think if
hang
you
out.
do the CCC, I don't think you have to get points for that.
I don't think so.
Maybe
really?
you do. I don't know.
Maybe it's half the points.
Something
I think
like
it's
that.
half points, maybe.
That would be
Anyway, as
that'd
we're
be doable.
talking, Hayden Hawks just won the CCC.
Yeah.
That's
as we were just
great.
talking. So
Did he get a course record? Did you
I don't
see
know.
that?
I didn't see. He was ahead of it at one point. I
Right.
don't know if he ever did it. And then
Right.
last I checked, Claire Gallagher was first for the females.
Yeah.
So
She was crushing it.
She was. So
Nice.
that's really awesome. So now you got to get over there. That's why we're
There's a
bringing it up.
lot of
I know.
people over there
There
now.
is.
It's pretty awesome.
There's more and more Americans that go over there, and with that, more and more people we know personally.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It seems a little stressful for me, a little too big, but
Yeah.
I could probably get through it.
I
I think you
think me and Joel have been trying. We're going to angle of being interns.
Yeah, we want to be UTMB interns next year.
So we're going to try and have them get
Nice.
us over there somehow to where
That'd
we
be fun.
just hand out like cappuccinos or,
Yeah.
I'm trying to introduce cheese curds to Europe. I think the cheese curd game might be a little weak over there.
Right.
So we got the curd wagon going.
So I Run Far just posted. Walmsley stopped to chat and said everyone was going so slow. Killian said, "No, everybody's going too fast."
Uh-oh. So anyway, UTMB will be interesting.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
So maybe a UTMB in the future or a CCC.
Maybe. I mean, it would be nice, but honestly, I haven't gone out of state that much.
Yeah, because we had this discussion.
Yeah, I stick pretty local.
But what's your equation here? You got some crazy like E equals MC squared, right?
It's nice to
It's her
not
radius.
drive longer than you're going to be running.
So
That's
she's got a
right.
100-mile protractor radius. She runs a 100-miler. She can only travel
That
less
far.
than 100 to run
Yeah.
100.
No, it's not that. It's like if it's going to take that long. She
Oh,
doesn't
time
want-
wise.
Right.
Time-wise.
So if your drive takes you 24 hours, then you need to finish in sub 24 if it's 100.
You need to take longer than 24 because then you would be running longer than
You're
you're
driving.
driving. But you
Okay.
don't want that to be your impetus for going slow.
Okay. Well, you slow down. It's like I really want to run that
Yeah, right.
race, so I got to go slow.
Right.
No, it's just, I don't know. I haven't had that much success out of state, honestly. And
Yeah.
by the time I got confident enough to maybe do something like that, I have been battling injuries for a few years.
Right.
Well, Smut, El Vaquero, Zane Grey, those are
Yeah.
out of state.
Yeah, but they're so close.
But they're out of state.
They're 3 hours.
Yeah, they are
Zane
close.
Grey
is in New Mexico.
that's a long drive.
That
Yeah.
was a long drive.
Bighorn's a long drive.
But I had to
Bighorn's
get
very
ready
long
for
drive.
Bighorn.
Yeah.
So I had to
Okay.
pick Zane Grey. So Bighorn is
So
up
you have
here.
a caveat. You've got like this. Okay, but
Well,
you got
no,
some
that one
buts.
just worked logistically because I was going to southern Utah after, and
Oh.
there were some other factors that it
Okay.
just worked out.
So all right, that makes sense.
And actually, what really worked out is I didn't sign up in October, but he posted that he had a few people drop out, and he was going to have a few openings.
Right.
And this is January or something. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that race, but to pull the trigger in October for me is
Yeah.
But
a
that's
little
almost what you have
stressful.
to do now.
You
too.
have to, and I don't want to.
Yeah,
Right.
neither do we.
So-
'Cause it's too far ahead to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I always thought that I would make the start line no matter what I signed up for until last year, and then I had to drop, the races and lose the money, and it's
Right.
like
That's hard.
I
that
didn't
hurts.
think that was a reality until it happened, and so
Right.
now I'm like, be careful what you sign up for.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that losing money thing when you don't show up to races, that'll hurt, right? Because you're just giving them extra money to buy Fig Newtons and pretzels.
Right.
Fig
Right.
Newtons and pretzels.
Yeah, for the aid stations.
Yeah.
Potatoes,
Coke.
whatever it might be.
Potatoes.
Yeah, soda.
Ginger ale.
Soda, So, yeah, I mean, man, we appreciate you taking the time to join us, meeting
Yes.
us at this beautiful place, this
Yeah.
park.
This worked out really good this time.
Yeah, it did. And, boy, good luck at Wasatch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you
going to
so
be
much.
awesome because we'll be following right along
Yeah.
through the Twitter feeds, through
That's
the
right.
Facebook posts, because there's a strong social media presence around this area, so we should have no
Yeah.
problem following along. And you're
Yeah.
always a favorite for the
Mhm.
Utah folks, so
Yeah.
you're easy to follow along with. But good luck with your foot. I hope that's just one of those things like you wake
Yeah.
up tomorrow and you go, oh, being on that podcast healed my foot. So
That
Right.
would be magic.
yeah, then we could add that to our website. It's like if you've tried everything, come talk to us.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll walk you through a process to get you healed.
Walk
so.
you through the process.
But thanks for taking time to join us. Good luck with Wasatch. Hope you heal up, and I don't know, maybe we'll see you at a race next year once we all start signing up for them.
That sounds great.
Or maybe we'll come ski with you like 140 of those days.
Perfect.
That'd be awesome.
All right, well, thanks, Sarah. Have a good
You're
time at
welcome.
Wasatch, and thanks for joining us on the Trail Manners Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Trail Manners Podcast. We'd like to thank Sarah McCloskey for taking the time to join us today and want to wish her luck this year at the Wasatch 100. We also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Trail Manners, or swing by the website at trailmanners.com. While you're there, check out the store page, check out that cool gear, or hit us up on the contact page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or if you would like to be on the show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joe Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.